All right, thanks to our sponsor, Biscayne Bay Brewing. Make sure that you ask for it if you're at your local Publix. Check it out on the website, also at your local restaurants. I saw it today. They are the official beer of the Marlins. They're also the official beer of our Marlins on Tap show, which just debuted last night. Marlins just lost 1-0. Not a huge surprise there that they can't hit. But Biscayne Bay Brewing, they have their own brew house, not only down the street from the arena, but also in the stadium itself. So they're moving up big time, and they're the official sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, our friend Lynette, insurancebylynette.com. Make sure you use the 2 N's there. Lynette, insurancebylynette.com. There we go. 954-581-8800, 954-581-8800. This is the Aggressive Insurance Agency. She sells all kinds of different insurance. She'll work with you. But if you're a bad driver, she's perfect for you because no bad drivers are rejected. So she'll make sure that you can find a way to get insurance. Check her out. Again, she is a big-time fan of ours, apparently, because she posts on a bunch of our shows, and we appreciate that. So support a fellow Heat fan, especially a knowledgeable Heat fan. All right, I am on my way to the arena. I decided not to conduct this from I-95 and Golden Glades, so I'm going to head down from Las Olas here shortly, hopefully post-traffic. So we're just going to do a few minutes, at least with me. You guys can carry on as long as you want. But let's get to it. This is the debut of Victor Oladipo. We've got Greg Sylvander, Brady Hawk, and Ricky J. Mark here with us. Jonathan will be back with us for the next show. I've been to a lot of these debuts, unveilings, first games. This one's a little bit different because it's not going to be as packed a house, although they are allowing vaccinated people to fill a couple of the sections tonight. So it will be a little bit louder than usual, more people waiting for horrible Papa John's at halftime. But let's get – Greg, you and I talked about this yesterday, so I'll pivot to Brady and Ricky on this. First thing, what do we expect the starting lineup to be, Brady? And second, what is a reasonable expectation for Victor Oladipo? I saw our friends at Prize Picks, Royal decided to play the over. They have him at 16 points tonight. What do you think the starting lineup is? We know Dragic is not playing, and I think we're going to see a lot of that. So, and we don't know about Nunn. He's questionable. So what do we think the starting lineup is, and what do we think for reasonable expectation for Vic?
Yeah, for one, I think they're pretty sure that Kendrick Nunn's going to play tonight because they said he's going to go through his pregame warm-ups, and if there's any setbacks, then he won't play, but they're expecting him to play. But I do expect it to be the same starting lineup except Oladipo in for Kendrick Nunn or Goran Dragic. I feel like that's the only, viable option. For one, we may look to Jimmy Butler at the 4, but there is no way they do that, especially in the regular season. I don't think that's possible. So Trevor Ariza probably stays there. So I think the conversation goes down to Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn, and you're not taking Duncan Robinson. You're not taking a guy with that type of gravity and that type of shooting out of that lineup, which would basically make that lineup go. So I think that's the only, viable option. And talking about his expectations for the season, I don't know if there's a limit to what I, expect points or stats wise. I just think he has to fit into the offense with, he talked about getting the film and different stuff like that already, but I'd like to see his fit in the dribble handoff type of actions and different things like that where, even though the big reason is going to see him just get a bucket, in an ISO situation that they don't have, just when the guy doesn't need to set a pick that he can go and attack and be that secondary attacker for Jimmy. I'd like to see him in their regular offense be able to, be comfortable in those situations at least.
Ricky, Vic talked today, and I know there's some skepticism from some around the league about his intentions, right? Like, I mean, he wasn't happy in Indiana. That was pretty clear. Houston, he didn't really want to be there. He rejected the contract. He said all the right culture things today. This was, that meme, I'm not going to say what it is, but that meme on Twitter with culture and all the rest of this stuff, right? Yeah. So, right. So he said all the right things today. How believable is this? We have seen guys come here historically who maybe they had, not that Vic's had big issues, but players who've had issues. There were questions about Jimmy. There were questions about Zoe out of Charlotte. There were questions about Timmy playing behind B.J. Armstrong and getting in arguments with Rick Adelman. There have been, Jamal Mashburn didn't fit with the Triple J's in Dallas, and nobody knew whose fault it was. It was with Tony Braxton at the time. I think that was the issue. But coming up, right? That was the reason. Yep. Okay. But you take a look at it now. Vic said the right things today. We've made the point he doesn't have to prove himself to the Heat as much as he has to prove himself to Jimmy. I feel like that's number one here. How do you think he'll do?
I think he'll do wonderfully, actually. I think he'll hit the ground running, pending his, assuming his quad is up for the task. And I think he'll do very well. He has a very kind of hard-nosed style that I think meshes very well with Jimmy, who also likes to slash to the basket. It's true. He has said a lot of the right things, but I think one thing that we've noticed in recent years is that you can kind of get a feeling that I don't want to be the kind of person that talks about vibes, but if I can bring up the name of Hassan Whiteside, for example, in his first breakout game, he did a post-game interview with, I think, Michelle Linda, one of the ESPN women, right. and one of the things that popped out to everybody was that, I'm just trying to get my 2K rating up, right? That sounded cute, but it was self-centered in a way. Right. If we really want to be honest, when Victor Oladipo did his interview today, yes, as Royal said in the comments, he cliched his way through the entire interview. But it takes a lot to be able to already mentally buy into that. Because here's the thing. He's a free agent this summer. If he comes to Miami, shows himself to be the one that buys into Spo's lineup and then crashes and burn, I don't think he'll go the way of Smush Parker in 2007. I think it'll just be very hard for people to really buy into him in terms of a max or a semi-max player going forward. So I think he's already bought into it. I think he's going to be just fine.
By the way, my internet's bad today. Nothing is as bad as Valley Sports score bug. Okay, we won't know who wins.
They got to fix that tonight.
We'll have no idea. The baseball one is slightly better, but not a hell of a lot. So they do need to work on that a little bit. Greg, I'll go to you on this. You did mention the Heat have never really been in a position with essentially a 25 game. It's 24, but they're more in the playoffs potentially. Quite a few more potentially. Roughly a 25 game sample size. Decide whether to pay a guy $25 million. What to you is the line? In other words, what does Vic have to do here for the rest of the season for the Heat to say, whatever else happens with anybody else, okay, re-signing Duncan or none, or going out and getting Kyle Lowry, or keeping your cap space for Kawhi, whatever it is, we're comfortable with Victor Oladipo as our third piece. What does he have to do?
Individually, I was really interested to hear him say that Pat Riley was so focused on defense. So I'm going to lead with that. I'm going to say that his ability to free up Jimmy is going to be huge going forward with some of the smaller guards and stuff like that, where Jimmy's not going to have to pay attention there and they can slide Vic over there. So the defensive side is where I think that's probably going to lead to the most victories, I would imagine. And that's, when you put that together, that's how he's going to get, signed. If they get back to the Eastern Conference Finals or better, they're going to look to bring this team back. So it's going to be about winning, and, the scoring will come. Tonight, I don't expect him to get 20. I think everyone's going a little overboard there. I like that they just slid him into the starting lineup. They haven't announced it yet, but it seems like a perfect spot. But I expect that there'll be a little bit of jitters.
Yeah, and we're going to try to get the Victor Oladipo video up here. I don't know. The Heat have not uploaded it to the NBA content site. So if they do, we'll get it up here. But Brady and I both put out all the quotes today. Brady, that's the key thing he said. He had a conversation. We had a conversation with Riley, and basically he said defense, defense, defense. This plays into what Greg and I and Alex were talking about on 5 on the Floor last night, that this team has essentially flipped in one season where it felt like they were just going to add offense. And now they've recognized that their strength is defense, even though roughly 75% of the minutes are being played by the same players as last year. No Crowder, but their top 6 to 8, of your top 9 are pretty much the same as they were last season. And this team has pivoted total defense. So in your view, how much better does Oladipo make them defensively, considering, I looked at it today, 3rd in defensive rating in the month of March that just closed?
Yeah, well, for one, that, talking about the defense, the focus, I think we've seen that lately by players. Coach Spo mentioning the identity of, becoming a defensive team, and I think now we're realizing where that's trickled down from after hearing the Pat Riley comment. So I think that's why they're pretty focused on that. And I think, like Greg mentioned, the big thing about Victor Oladipo for their defense is just freeing up Jimmy, that he doesn't have to guard every team's best guard. Kendrick Nunn got a lot of the load on Stephen Curry, obviously, last game, because they're not going to put Jimmy on Curry in a first quarter situation. But now they get to put Victor Oladipo on him, and you can trust that. I think that makes the difference. And also, you want to look at Bam. the soft switches we constantly talk about, part of that is because he doesn't trust the defender that's guarding the point guard.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
when it's Jimmy Butler or Trevor Ariza guarding the guy, the soft switch doesn't usually occur. He just kind of, flows into it. So I think that's going to basically, we're going to notice that little by little as the defense increases.
Thank you, Twisted. We appreciate that. Well, let's pivot back now. They're playing Golden State tonight. I saw that the Heat's number, I looked over it at mybookie.ag using code 5, 110.5 tonight, which seemed high, unless you consider Golden State's not very good on defense. But Miami hasn't really broken 100 comfortable lately. But this Golden State team, just taking a look at them, Ricky, I mean, no Clay, obviously. I don't know that, Wiggins and Oubre don't seem to me to be the best complements to Curry. And yet Andrew Wiggins, he's never going to live up to what he was supposed to be. But the past month, he's been pretty damn good. I mean, he's been efficient. I don't know that he's a player you want on a contending team. Zach LaVine, his former teammate, has kind of passed him, in my view. But they present problems. And, look, they came back against Miami the last time when Miami should have closed that thing out late. So how do they deal with Steph tonight other than saying to Vic, go get that guy?
Yeah, I think they make Steph's life a living hell, honestly. You just got to beat him up. This is, in many ways, it's kind of old school. But, if you look at the Warriors right now, the Warriors, like Miami, are 4-6. They're averaging 110 points, about 40 rebounds a game, 26.6 assists. They're having a similar stretch to Miami, as crazy as this may sound. But you also have to consider the fact that Wiggins, who was averaging around 23 and 6 this season, he's doing well. Look, at this point right now, you have to make sure that this Warriors team doesn't choose tonight to be the night that goes off against Miami. As well as Miami is known for giving up threes, you don't want this to be the night. You don't want Steph Curry to start launching threes and hitting them, because once he gets in a groove, I've only seen 2 other players in NBA history as dangerous as this man from behind the arc. Wade when he's on, and Kobe when he decides, no, it's him against everybody else. And it's terrifying. Now, I don't think that's going to happen tonight because, of course, if you're able to if it's weird that you can say, don't worry so much about offense, just go out and be the best defender on the floor, Victor. Stick on Curry. I want to know what he ate for breakfast today. Worry about defense, and it will work you into the offense later. I think ultimately it's just a matter of team defense, team effort. Keep these guys honest on defense, and you'll be able to stay in the game, because Miami has been proving, ironically enough, since at least 2016, 2017, that they can stay in a game with this team. If Duncan Robinson is able to continue this hot streak, then you'll have these guys thinking twice about thinking that they're going to leave Miami or leave this game with the Heat with an easy victory. I don't see that happening. So I think ultimately it's going to require a team effort. Victor, 15-5-5, he'll be okay, but I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I think 15-5-5. I said 16-5-5 this morning. We're in the same kind of ballpark there, and I think if they got that, they'd be fine. And I don't really think it is about the numbers. I think it's basically about disposition and whether or not, again, they can get. If they can get a lead, I talked to Ira about this today on Onside Radio. You get a lead and you plug in the reverse death lineup against a franchise that popularized the death lineup. You throw Ariza and Iguodala out there with your new big 3, and you see if they can score. And they've gone all in on the side of the ball that's working. All right, I got to hit the road here. You guys can continue. I actually like a Heat victory tonight. They're 3-point favorites tonight. I went back and looked. When they go get a premium new player, they win. It tends to be what happens here. I do think having a few more fans in the stands tonight, too, will help, and they'll be juiced. You'll hear them tonight. This will be the first time this season that you will hear the crowd. There'll be more fans than usual, and they're excited about this. And I did hear that the tickets were changing hands quickly today. This is really the first time in a long time. People want to see this game. So I think the Heat win by 5. I think they closed it out defensively with Jimmy at the line, and I think Victor, I'm going to say 16-5-5. But we're in the same ballpark, right? I'm going to try to beat traffic. You guys take it from here. 5 on the floor after the game. Alex is joining me there. Post-game show with Royal. So make sure that you guys check that out. We'll do Floor's Yours tomorrow night. Thanks, guys. Oh.